I'm humbly saying that I'm a multimillionaire because of cryptocurrency real estate transactions. The banks would rather lend to someone who has a $100,000 W-2 job a year than someone that's worth $10 million in Bitcoin. I had 2 clients that were probably worth anywhere from 50 to 100 million in Bitcoin, very little in the bank, no bank wanted to fund them. I don't believe that human beings are put on this earth to just do one thing. And I don't think that human beings should just do one thing well. I think that human beings, if they're programmed correctly, if they're entrepreneurial based, and if they have systems in place, they can do a lot of things really, really well.
Hello and welcome back to the Alex Witherow Show. Today I have a very interesting guest, a very Miami type character, a former music executive turned crypto real estate agent, Erik Mendelson. That is like the most Miami thing I've ever heard.
You know, I still have my hand in the music industry, which we'll get into during the show. But what's paying my bills today is being a crypto focused real estate agent, but my background is definitely in music.
Okay, we're going to get into crypto-focused real estate because I don't even know what that means. But the idea of paying for a condo with Bitcoin is like, what?
Yeah, that's usually the first impression that I get from people. So the crypto. So you mean people are buying property in Bitcoin? And the answer is that people can. Yeah. And I think there's maybe one person or a couple people that have. Yeah. But they're not actually using. Most sellers are not accepting Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would imagine not.
It's going to change, though. My clients are leveraging it, though. Okay. So this is a strategy that I pioneered towards the tail end of COVID.
We're going to get into that. But I want to talk first about music with you because I know you've got a really cool background in music. You helped really kind of launch a lot of artists in Miami. Miami kind of has, you wouldn't think of Miami as being a music hub, so to speak, but, as Amy right here, she did a couple years in Miami, did quite a bit of recording here before she died. But talk to me about like how you got into music and what what you were involved in exactly when you first started.
I mean, very back in band camp, very very early on, I went to Rutgers University. Okay. And my career, I was pursuing a career in sports journalism. I realized very early on that I was going to make no money in sports journalism unless I was a superstar athlete, which I definitely was not. So I pivoted to something else that I really enjoyed, which was music, and I started interning for Hot 97. This is in the this is late 90s. Okay. Now I'm dating myself. Late 90s. We're talking Biggie Smalls, Tupac era. And I was interning for Hot 97, which was the biggest hip-hop radio station at the time, and all of my idols were walking through the radio station. And I thought at the time I was going to get into radio. But at the same time, all of these artists have reps and managers that accompany them pretty much everywhere they go. Right. And I was meeting some of the record label reps, which at the time I didn't even really know what that was or what they did. And I befriended several of them, and learning about what they did for a career on the label side, not on the management side, I was really intrigued, and I decided to pivot from like radio aspirations to being on the record side. And I also knew at the time that being on the record side was going to pay me a lot more than on the radio side, where most people on radio do not, unless you're like Ryan Seacrest, you're not making money on radio. Yeah. They make money from doing ancillary things and going to hosting events outside of the radio station or doing branding deals. But in records, you can make a lot of money at a very young age, and it was something that I wanted to pursue. Okay. So that's kind of what got me. The proximity to New York, coming from New Jersey, my proximity to New York and being around the music industry is really what drove me there. I mean, what's Darwin's theory of evolution? That we're a product of our environment, right? And that's very true. When you're in Idaho or wherever it is in Middle America, you're not thinking about the music industry because it's not really. Doesn't really revolve surrounding where your life is in your proximity. Yeah. The same way that I don't think about farming, although I want to farm now. I don't think about farming. I didn't grow up by a farm. I grew up in like New York, New Jersey, and now Miami. Like
not many farms.
Like where are we farming? You know what I mean? So it's like, but if I was in Middle America, I'd probably want to be like a great farmer or something. I don't know, as an example. So that's what kind of drove me to music. Plus, I'm a very passionate music guy.
Okay, and tell me, so you get in there, you've made friends with different people, managers, I guess agents, whatnot. I mean, what was the next step for you? And was this up in New York or Jersey?
Yeah, I would take the train from New Brunswick, which is where Rutgers was, central New Jersey. I would take the train an hour to New York every morning to intern. I interned every single year that I was in college. I interned for Hot 97. I then interned for Loud Records. Senior year, I interned for Interscope Records, which was Eminem. Yep. I can get into all the. Yep. So I interned all these. So by the way, just getting an internship in the music industry is a challenging process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's a lot of people that want to intern for the record label. A lot of people that want to be in the music industry. So just being able to get through that interview process, if you want to call call it that, which I'm essentially working for free. Like interns, at least back then, I don't know how it is now, but interns work for free. So here I am, this poor college student that's literally taking a train at 6 in the morning. I'm up at 4 in the morning. I'm taking a train at 6 in the morning to work for free in New York, to take the train home, to study, to wake up to go to class. And every other day I would intern in the city. And I was bartending and waitering at night just to pay the bills and pay my way through college. So I didn't really have much of like a social life in college. I was really focused on pursuing passions in the music industry. And I was sending my resume out senior year and no one was calling me back. And sure enough, I was interning for Interscope, which at the time was like the hottest record label in the world. And someone from Elektra Records, which is home to Fabulous and Missy Elliott and Metallica, an executive there was looking for an assistant. And they called Interscope because at the time Interscope was like El Jefe, like the big boy in the room. And they were like, well, do you have any promising interns? And they were like, you got to meet this kid, Erik. And sure enough, just to date myself here, this is when Eminem had Hi, My Name Is Slim Shady.
Right.
He was doing the MTV Awards, and I had tried out to be a VJ on the MTV Awards.
Okay.
And they said to me when I tried out, they're like, you're not very good at being a VJ, but we have an idea for you.
Isn't that like a host? Like a
Carson
Daly
type? I wanted to be like Carson, exactly. I wanted to be like a Ryan Seacrest or Carson Daly. I tried out for it.
He's still doing that.
Yeah.
A million years later.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the few that's made money.
Yeah.
The woman who was like casting, I think she found me attractive and she was like hitting on me. It's pretty cool. And she was like, you're not very good at this, but you're kind of cute and you kind of remind me of someone. Do you want to be in the MTV Awards? And she didn't tell me what it was. But at the time I was interning for Eminem's record label. She goes, I need you to dye your hair blonde. We're going to give you $100. And at the time I was like, hell yeah, I'll take the $100 and I'm going to be a part of the MTV Awards. And when she said blonde hair, I had a feeling it had to do with Eminem. So I go back to the video department at Interscope and I said, is Eminem doing anything crazy in the MTV Awards with like lookalike Eminems? Because you know, Hi, My Name Is when they all come out. They were like, oh my God. They were like, yeah. They're like, you're going to be one of the Eminems, one of the Slim Shadys. So I was like, yeah, I am. So now word got around Interscope that there's this, college senior that's going to be one of the lookalike Eminems in this big thing that this secret that they're going to do for MTV. So now all the executives at Interscope wanted to meet me because they thought it was cool that I was going to be in it.
Yeah.
So now I expanded my network just by doing that. But the following day after the MTV Awards was my interview with Elektra Records. And TRL called and said, we want you to come.
Total Request Live.
We want you to come on TRL, not to host, but we want to. There was 100 white lookalikes like me.
This is back when like MTV was relevant.
Very. I mean, this is like the top of the.
Like, now they're like
Times Square.
A dinosaur.
Right. Well, I think they're out of business now.
Yeah.
Not just TRL. I think MTV is about to be done. And got the call that they wanted me to be like a guest on TRL with like 50 of the other Slim Shadys. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. Well, that same day was my interview at Elektra, which was like my dream to get a job. And I am with blonde hair. So I told the executives that I was interning for at Interscope, I'm like, listen, I can go do the job interview or I can go be a Slim Shady. And they're like, well, we'll call and we'll push our interview off. We'll tell Elektra that they got to wait another day, but you have once in a lifetime opportunity to go on TRL. It's going to be fun. Go do that. So I did TRL. I had a blast. I'm in blonde hair. Elektra Records calls me and says, all right, you have the interview the next day. The next day I go into the interview after TRL. And the first thing that the gentleman who was interviewing, his name was Cord. He's a dear friend. He's a mentor today. He sits me down and he doesn't even say, what's your name? He goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? That was my first interview and I was like, I'm not getting this fucking job. I look like a fucking Slim Shady. I got blonde hair. I literally just came from TRL. I'm pissed drunk from the night before. He didn't know that. And I'm like, oh man, I screwed up. He was like, how the fuck are you going to go to TRL when you have a job interview that's going to pay you a salary right out of college? This is like a dream job for you. And here you are blowing me off and blowing this interview off because you want to go jerk around and be on TRL. He was like, you're not making good decisions already. And I was like, oh, fuck. He was like, but you got the job.
Nice.
That was my interview. And I was like, because he was like, you wouldn't be sitting here if I wasn't going to give you the job. He was like, your resume and your track record for who you've worked for and the recommendations you have. He was like, I'd never seen anything like that.
Nice.
Because remember, I came from Hot 97. Yeah. And at the time, every record label was competing to get their records on Hot 97. And I was a fast track in because I had a very strong relationship with the program director, which is who I interned for.
Yeah.
Her name was Tracy Clarity. Very powerful woman in the music industry. And I was working for her, interning for her. So they all felt like if we hire Erik, then he'll be able to get Tracy on the phone when we need something done. And but it taught me a valuable lesson. We have to, even at a young age, like the decisions that we make early in life impact us and impact us in the future. And I made a bonehead decision. It happened to work out for me, and I made my way up the ranks from there.
Yeah, interesting. So you did do TRL.
I did do TRL. Yeah, I was just like.
Did you meet Carson?
No, who was the guy? Dave Holmes.
Okay.
So I basically tackled Dave Holmes on camera, and they got pissed off at me. I gave him a noogie on camera, and they got mad. I mean, I was like 20 something. I was like.
So wait, you gave Dave Holmes a noogie on camera?
Yeah, like one of those.
Yeah. I know what a noogie is.
And the executive,
they got mad at you about that?
In the street in Times Square, and they're looking at me why is this kid with blonde hair jumping all over our host of the day? And I could tell that Dave was pissed off at me, but we were live on camera, and he wasn't going to do shit.
Right.
Plus, I would have knocked him out if he got out of pocket.
Right.
I do things that, at least when I was younger, and I was trying to make my way up the ranks.
A little volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit on the edge.
Yeah.
Who wants to go through life like this? What fun is that?
I feel like when I'm just sitting here with you, I feel like I get a kind of a Beastie Boys kind of vibe.
Sure. All that.
Which I'm sure when you were younger, that was even more amplified.
I was going to say Beastie Boys is very tame to the lifestyle that I've led.
Yeah. Okay. So then you get into, is it Elektra?
Elektra, correct.
Okay, Elektra.
As an assistant, I was making $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
Plus overtime.
Yeah.
So I worked for free for 3 years, paid my way through college, which cost me way more than $24,000.
So you went to Elektra out of college.
I didn't walk to get my diploma.
Yeah.
The day I was supposed to graduate, I started because I fucked up so bad in the interview that they were like, well, do you want to walk to get your diploma? And I was like, I'm not risking you, guy. No, I'll sign the contract. I'll start when do you need me?
Yeah.
I'll be here Monday. The day that I was supposed to go walk. So I told my parents, I was like, Mom, Dad, thanks for helping me go through college. But you're not going to, they're going to send a diploma in the mail because I got my job. And my dad was ecstatic. He was like, go do it.
Yeah.
You're just going to be one of 10,000 kids walking. Who cares?
Yeah.
We'll party later. So they were very happy because I was getting rejected. Very hard to get a job in the music industry. I don't have a dad that comes from that industry.
Yeah.
I don't come from money. There was no, I'm not like a, what's that called? Silver spoon kid.
Yeah.
I'm from the streets. I mean, I know, not the hood,
yeah.
but I have middle class upbringing. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not
Jersey.
gonna. Jersey.
Yeah. I knew guys like that.
Yeah, Jersey. Yeah. You make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
So no one was gonna fucking tell me no, and I was having a lot of no's at that time, and I didn't think that I was gonna. I think I was gonna have to just continue to be like a waiter. I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do.
Yeah.
Because I interned for some of the biggest record labels. I worked with some of the biggest artists in the world at a very early on. I still couldn't get a job, and then when I did, they only paid me $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
But I fucking loved it.
So you get it Elektra, and so I mean, is it as glamorous as you thought it would be, or
it's pretty cool.
What was the vibe?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I could have been a lawyer. I was going to go to law school. I could have been on Wall Street. I would have been making a lot more money at 21 years old. But I was very happy with my $24,000. But times were a lot. That job now probably pays $45 or $50 a year. Back then it was $24. Just to show you inflation. I was very happy at a very young age. I was pursuing what I loved. I wasn't doing it for the money.
So take me from how you transitioned down to Miami and started your own kind of music shop here, breaking in a lot of different artists down here. Take me from Elektra to Miami and what happened in there.
Yeah, started off as an assistant making $24,000 a year. I was the first one in and the last person to leave the office every day. I was teaching the executives about how to use certain software applications back then.
Yeah.
And they were very high paid people, and I was teaching them how to do certain things. So I excelled very early on. I was offered a job promotion within 6 months of working for the company, which is unheard of. I was 21. They wanted me to move to Texas to be a record rep. All of the labels, today they're a lot less, but back then there was 10 to 14 reps that were spread out in major cities across America. All the major cities you can think of, radio cities, New York, Miami, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, LA, et cetera, et cetera. And they wanted to move me to Houston or to Dallas or whatever. And I was like, I'm a New York kid. I'm not going to fucking Texas. No offense against Texas. I love Texas today. But back then I was like, all I knew, I have Italian Jewish roots. All I knew was Italian, the Brooklyn, the Bronx, New Jersey. I'm not going to fucking Texas. It scared the hell out of me years ago. And so I passed on that. They're like, but what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be the fucking New York rep. And they're like, Erik, that's the number one market. No 21 or 22-year-old runs the New York radio market for any record label. I was like, I'm going to be the first. I'm going to be the first. And they said, well, you may have to wait because we currently have an employee in that position. I said, I'll wait. No problem. 6 months later, that person, I forgot if she left the company or got promoted to some other company. Whatever happened, that position became available. And My bosses at the time that hired me, Cord and Joe, the ones who were basically like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was their assistant, and I built such a relationship up with these two guys, and they didn't have to look out for me. And when the job came available, they literally went to the boss's office, the general manager of the company, it's right below the CEO, and said, if you don't hire Erik, he's going to leave the company. And he's too good of a talent and of a human being to let him go to some other record label. And we're going to leave this talent because for whatever reason, and because of his age.
Yeah.
And they stuck their neck out for me, and they didn't have to do that. And I got the job.
Nice.
And so I was like the youngest radio rep in the history of certainly of Elektra Records. And I was running the New York radio market, which for those out here that don't know, we're talking about the biggest radio stations in the world, from Z100, which is still the biggest pop station in the world, to Hot 97, which at the time was the biggest hip hop station, to K-Rock. We're talking about Howard Stern, the biggest rock station.
Yeah.
All the big formatted stations were in New
York. Is this before Stern went to like Sirius?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been on Howard Stern's show a couple times.
Nice.
Back
I remember his whole like Private Parts, that movie, the book.
Yeah,
I remember all that back in the late '90s.
Yeah,
that was fun. It was an interesting and entertaining movie.
Yes, it was a time to be alive. Howard's a great guy. I haven't seen him in many years, and I was responsible for setting up all the radio and touring activities for the artists on Elektra. Everyone from Metallica to Fabulous.
So are you like interacting with these bands regularly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean. Anytime.
Tell me some gossip about each band. I mean, I was a huge. I mean, Metallica was one of those bands where they released the Black Album in 1991, right?
Right.
And that, like, I was only 10 years old at that age, and yet it like just yanked you into the music scene. Like, it didn't matter. Like, if you were like over the age of like 7, you were like, okay, I'm a rock fan now because like this album is so good. And that year was like phenomenal for rock. I mean, you had Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, you had STP, Soundgarden, all these amazing, like Pearl Jam, all these amazing like rock bands coming out releasing albums that year. But yeah, tell me about Metallica.
I never interacted with them except for one time. At that time, they were such a big band. They weren't doing radio interviews. They weren't doing like fan meet and greets where it's like, hey, come backstage. Yeah. If you're the 90th caller, you can come backstage. They weren't doing any of that. But I, along with the rest of the Electric executives, we set up a concert at the Bowery Ballroom in New York City, which I think holds several hundred people.
Yeah.
And Metallica was performing.
I lived like 12 blocks from there.
And Metallica performed there.
Oh, that's cool.
This is a band now that would sell out giant stadiums.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Like 10 times over.
To get in that size of a plays venue with Metallica would be phenomenal.
And we only, if I recall, it wasn't, you couldn't buy the ticket. It was set up through like, I think K-Rock, where you had to be like a winner.
Yeah.
And of course it was like special invited guests of the label. And it was an intimate performance with Metallica, which I don't even think they record. I don't think they even recorded that live that day. Like, I don't think there's any recordings of that, of that show. It was one of the greatest fucking shows I've been to in my entire life.
I'm sure.
Side note, I saw Jay-Z at Bowery Ballroom also. They did something Def Jam did something very similar to Jay-Z. So these are, again, artists that would sell out the biggest stadiums in the world 10 times over, are doing a very small, intimate venue in New York City, and I was part of Metallica.
So if you're like the radio rep in New York, I mean, are you kind of, I don't, explain to me exactly what that means. Like, are you booking bands to radio stations, or are you liaising between the two?
Yes.
With your clients?
It's very, so getting on the radio is very competitive.
Yeah.
And back then, even today, it's free advertising. Yeah. If a radio station is charging 100 seconds for a 30-second spot, and you have a song that's 3.5 minutes, well, what does that amount to? Like $600-$700, actually more than that.
That's bad news for Queen.
Every time, right. Bohemian Rhapsody, you're talking about? Yeah. Every time the song is played, it's like you're getting $1,000 of free, it's actually more or less depending on the station. You're getting like $1,000 of free radio advertising every time a song is played.
Right.
And my job is to get the song played 100 times a week or 80 plus times a week on radio, because you can directly translate that to how much of an advertising spend that is. So it's very competitive. Well, that's all the record labels are competing for these. There's only a restricted amount of slots. They call it ads, like weekly ads that a station's going to add a new song. Sometimes they don't add any new songs a week. Sometimes they'll add 4 or 5 or 2 or 3. But there's hundreds of songs or dozens of songs that are going for that spot on radio every single week.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like a barter system. It's a relationship thing. So I did a lot of taking clients out to fancy dinners and sports games and just building a rapport with them and being able that when I call or text them, they answer and call me back. And there's a lot lot of bartering also, where it's like, hey, this artist will play your summer jam, or this artist is going to do meet and greets with your station, but your competing station who's not playing the record, they're not going to get the meet and greet.
Okay, so you're in a pretty. So you're repping pretty major artists, like the
biggest in the world.
Biggest in the world. Metallica. Who else are you repping?
Well, at Elektra, it was Metallica, Missy Elliott. So I was responsible for breaking Fabulous's career. And what I mean when you say break, I didn't break Missy Elliott. She was already a superstar. I didn't break Metallica by any means. But the first rep that got a hold of Fabulous, that took him on the radio to get him airplay, was me. Yeah. So before he went into other markets to market and promote himself, I was the one that took him onto New York radio. I also helped an artist by the name of Jason Mraz, singer-songwriter. I got him on PLJ.
Jason Mraz was pretty big.
Yeah, so that was, now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was the guy that had him before you knew who he was.
Yeah.
Not just, there was, of course, I have coworkers, so I'm not going to take full responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a team effort, and anything that I do, it's always a team effort, whether it's my company or whether I'm a part of a team. But I was responsible for getting him on the biggest, it's called a hot AC station, hot adult contemporary. I was the one who was responsible for getting him on adult contemporary, and then he transitioned, or he got picked up by like pop radio, like Z100. That's how his career started off.
I mean, where are you guys? I mean, I can relate to this through the acting prism, because I was in acting in New York for many years. I mean, like with the agencies, I mean, I don't know if labels and agencies are the same exactly, but like all like the CAAs, the ICMs, the William and Morris Endeavors, they only rep like stars. So like, are you guys repping only like major bands, or are you guys taking like kind of up and coming talent too?
Well, record labels sign up, well, at least they did. They were developing and signing upcoming talent. That's a lot less these days. These days, they're relying on entrepreneurs like myself to develop these artists, and then the record labels take a calculated risk, deleverage their risk in creating an advance, or giving someone like me a production deal for the artist. Record labels are not developing talent the way that they used to develop talent. And they were developing talent a lot more before I even got into the music industry. We're talking 60s, 70s rock and roll. They were really developing talent, and then it changed as it got more into hip-hop, and they were still developing some hip-hop, but now the record labels, the budgets have reduced considerably. ICM, William Morris, they got the easy job. Yeah. The record labels are the ones who are investing in all this talent. That's why the 360 deal came into place. And the 360 deal was basically like, record labels used to just get paid basically off of like music sales, or now music streaming. And the record label like, well, we're funding these artists, and they're doing movies, and they're doing clothing lines, and they're getting endorsement deals. And we're the ones that are putting up the capital, like startup capital. Right. And our success, there's a greater failure rate. There's a greater failure rate for musicians than success. That's in any business. And the labels are, we're putting up all this money and all this capital. We're taking the risk, but if these artists have a career outside of just selling records, we're not getting a piece of it. But no one would put XYZ artist in a movie if it wasn't for the success that they've had as a music artist. So they came up with these 360 deals, which are basically all-encompassing artists across all types of platforms, like even potentially movies. Like if you're in a movie and you get paid, we get paid too. Yeah. Now, of course, there's negotiation depending on leverage. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but every point of a contract for an artist can be negotiated, and the label will take everything that you allow them to. Yeah. And so it has changed, and because I see companies like ICM and William Morris, basically like after the artist has blown up, now all the Live Nations or the promoters around the world are calling ICM to book these artists, and not calling the label. Yeah. And ICM barely did anything. Yeah. It's like, all right, $100,000, ICM gets 20% or 10% of that for doing nothing, putting up no real capital.
And they take some lower level people, but it's always kind of like a barter. It's like,
usually they're doing it for a favor.
Yeah. They're saying, okay, well, we'll give you Brad Pitt if you take Joe Blow over here in the movie as well.
Well, I will say the labels are not supposed to be an intermediary between the artist and the agencies. The agencies, these branding agencies, these booking agencies, it's the artist and the manager's decision about who they go with. The label they can't tell an artist to go. They could certainly recommend, put in the phone calls, which when I had my artist signed, they were certainly doing that. Maybe they were getting some kind of kickback. Who knows? Probably, because the music industry is a horrible industry from a money standpoint. Yeah. So the artist and the manager make a decision about what agency they're going to go for. But these agencies, man, I'm not someone like a Missy Elliott. this is just a hypothetical. This is not. I have no idea if this is the case. Would say, yeah, I'll sign to you, ICM or William Morris, but I have 3 artists that I just signed to my production deal. You're going to have to make them some money also, or I'm not going to sign with you. I'll go to your competitor.
Yeah.
And then of course ICM's like, yeah, okay, well we'll take you and your 3 other artists, and and they do very little for those other artists. They're just getting essentially passive income from Missy Elliott.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not killers.
Yeah.
They're not going out there and finding money.
Yeah.
For their clients, the money's basically just coming to them.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, tell me about how you transitioned from. So I assume, how long were you the radio rep in New York?
Yes, so I was at Elektra Records for 3.5 years, and then Elektra was merging with Atlantic Records because AOL Time Warner was either merging or breaking apart. I forgot what it was. And they basically axed and got rid of everyone at Elektra except for 2 employees. And unfortunately, I was part of one of the 100 of employees that got laid off. And basically had to move. I was living in Hell's Kitchen. I was living in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates, and my roommates basically ran the entire New York club scene, and we were going in and out of clubs, and the parties were before the club at our apartment, and then after the after parties, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I was living I had 2 hours of sleep a day, but it got to a point once I lost my job at Elektra that I couldn't afford the rent in New York, and I had to move back home with my mother and my father, I was 27 years old at the time. It was a little depressing for me because I pretty much lived on my own since I was 18 years old. So I had to move back home. Unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with cancer years earlier. And what I didn't know was that me moving back home was actually going to be a blessing for me, because maybe a year after I moved to Miami, my mother passed away.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't have had that had I still been living in New York City. I wouldn't have had that opportunity to, move back home with my mom in my late 20s. But during that transition period, I was literally getting fat, waking up in the morning, watching Oprah Winfrey, sending out my resume, getting no calls. It was a bloodbath in the music industry. People were losing jobs. No one was getting jobs. But at the same time, I had discovered an artist by the name of Mims that the head of rap promotion at Elektra was working with. And he said, I need you to help me work with this artist. And we befriended one another and built a company together, which wasn't making any money. So it wasn't really a company. It was an LLC with no revenue. And I was calling radio stations around the country. Remember, I just had relationships in New York. But at the time, I was doing what I was doing in New York, and I was doing it nationally. So I was calling LA, Houston, whatever. I was calling agencies like ICM, can you book this artist? And everyone was telling me, no one knows who he is. And I got an agency to put Mims on a tour with Method Man. Back then, Method Man was top 3 in the world.
He was kind of like was he like a DJ or?
No, who?
Method Man.
No, Method Man was Wu-Tang.
Oh, okay.
So it's Method Man, Redman, one of the greatest rappers all time, and basically the head of Wu-Tang Clan, which Wu-Tang is one of the greatest rap groups, probably the greatest rap group ever, in my opinion. And we were not the same type of music, but this is when gas was 80 cents, and I didn't have a job. I had some severance that I got paid. I don't know if I got paid $10,000, $12,000 severance from Elektra, a couple months of salary, whatever. So I was getting $24,000 a year, and then when I became the New York regional at Elektra, I was getting $60,000 a year. So I got 2 or 3 months of severance, and I spent all of that money to basically put it into Mims, and we rented a fucking minivan, and gas was 80 cents, and we were sharing one room and sleeping in closets and eating ramen noodles, the whole we were broke, and there was 4 or 5 of us. But it really built my grit up in the music industry. I was knocking down doors and knocking on radio stations, and Method Man was so big at the time that he wasn't doing radio interviews, but Mims was the opening act. So they would let Mims come on and interview, so he would talk about his touring experience with Method Man, and then from there slowly built up Mims's career.
So were you managing him basically?
We had a production company together. We had a 50-50 production company together.
How'd you meet this guy?
An intern that was interning from my business. My business partner today, his name is Corey Llewellyn. CL, he runs DigiWax. His intern, or an intern at Elektra, was working with Mims, and the intern, who I had a falling out with, so I'm not going to name who it is, introduced him to CL and wanted my business partner to work with him. And CL said, "I'll work with him, but I need Erik on my team too." This is when we were when we were co-workers together at Elektra Records, and CL was a higher ranking executive than I was at the time, and then we all got laid off, and we were just pushing Mims's career. And every label was like, "Oh, he sounds like Jay-Z." They didn't want to sign, and we were pushing him. Around that time is when I got a call from Jive Records. The head of promotion, his name is Joe Rigatelli, very well-known radio promoter or music executive, Italian guy, and he and I got along. We befriended one another through my years of Elektra Records, and I really liked the guy. He said, "Hey, look, I'm looking to move. I'm looking for a rep in Miami. Would you move to Miami?" And at the time, I was coming to Miami for spring break. Again, I'm a New Yorker, right?
Right.
Italian, Jewish New Yorker. That's all I really knew. I didn't travel out of the country ever at that time. It was like, but the only place that I visited outside of New York was Miami. And I loved the scene and the vibe in Miami when I was in college for spring break. And at the time, I told my parents, who were both alive at the time, I said, if I moved anywhere outside of New York, New Jersey, I'd move to Miami because the vibe was awesome. We're talking 20 plus years ago now, man. And Jive called me and said, do you want to move to Miami? I was like, I got the moving truck. I'll go to fucking tomorrow.
Yeah.
I said, I'll go tomorrow. And so sure enough, what I was doing for a lecture in New York, about a year and a half later, I was doing that for Jive Records in Miami, and I was.
So you were like the Miami radio rep?
Correct.
Yeah.
So all the big radio stations down here, EDR, 99 Jams, Y100, all the big stations down here, and all the way up to Jacksonville, and even I touched a little bit of Atlanta and Alabama, and I was responsible, and I broke Chris Brown's career. Yeah. So Chris Brown's career broke in West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
The
Interesting.
Babalu Bad Boys, who were on a station called WMBX in West Palm Beach, which bleeds a little bit into the South Florida, Miami market. I had just got the job. I said, listen, guys, I'm responsible for bringing this kid. He's got this record called Run It featuring Joel Santana. No one knows who he is. He's got a video on MTV, because MTV was still kind of popping then. And they're like, yeah, Eric, we'll do you the favor. We'll bring him up and we'll interview him. And from there, Chris Brown's song and career took off.
Interesting. Wow.
So shout out to the Babalu Bad Boys for giving me that opportunity. But it was kind of like I was friends with the Babalu Bad Boys from working with Mims independently, because they were also some of the DJs.
What happened with Mims? Did he take off?
Yeah. So,
yeah. I don't know with Mims as well.
Yeah.
I know Chris Brown.
Yeah, sure. So this was 2006, Chris Brown. Running Chris Brown.
I remember because I lived in D.C. at that time, and I remember hearing Chris Brown a lot at clubs and stuff.
Well, what about T-Pain? Because I was
probably, yeah, I know that name.
So I'm responsible for breaking T-Pain's career also.
Yeah.
Both guys broke in Florida. Well, when I was taking T-Pain and Chris Brown to all the radio stations to introduce them to all the DJs and all the radio programmers and all the news outlets in the market, in the passenger seat was my good friend, Sean Mims, a.k.a. Mims.
Okay.
No one really knew he was an artist. And after I got done promoting them to the radio stations and taking the radio stations out to dinner, Mims and I would, we would drop the artists back off at the hotel, and then Mims and I would go back out on the street with the DJs, and we'd go to the clubs, and I say to the DJs, I was like, that's Mims. And they're like, Mims, we remember this record. Is that the Mims? It's like, yeah, that's the Mims. But they met him as my friend Sean. Yeah. They probably thought we were gay or something. Who the hell knows? and that's how much he was in the car with me. And it got to a point where all the DJs and all the radio programmers were friends with Mims, with Sean, before they even knew it was Mims. And then when we had this record called This Is Why I'm Hot, that DJ Blackout from West Palm produced, and we serviced that record to radio stations, they were like, this is the Mims that was in the car with you. They're like, this record's fucking phenomenal. So my guy Omar, this woman named Beata, who was running a Tampa radio station, Omar, who was in Fort Myers, they started playing, and Gainesville, they started playing This Is Why I'm Hot. And in Florida, I call it the Bermuda Triangle. If you get Orlando, it's an hour away from Tampa, and it's close to Gainesville. So you have that 3 point. If you get Miami, well, if you get Miami to play it, well, now you're touching West Palm Beach and a little bit of Fort Myers. Yeah. If you get West Palm Beach radio to play it, you're touching Fort Myers and Miami and a little bit of Gainesville. So there's these, I call them these Bermuda triangles, where if you get one station, it's like the point of the triangle to touch other markets. Yeah. And This Is Why I'm Hot went on the radio, and it was like, callers like, what's that song? What's that song? Remember, I was competing against Eminem. I was competing against these biggest artists in the world to get this record played, but I also knew what I was doing a little bit. Yeah. And because I just broke Chris Brown, I just broke T-Pain in Florida, I was a pretty hot radio rep with a good reputation of bringing records to radio.
So I'm sure you're starting to get some calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first call I got was from Universal Records, from the CEO, Monty Littman. Called me and wanted to offer Mims a deal. The record was starting to move in other markets, because the way it works is radio stations, iHeart owns most of the stations in the country. Yeah. There's CBS at the time, and I'm drawing a blank as to who owned the Citadel, and there's a bunch of other people that own radio stations. Well, all these radio programmers, they have these weekly meetings where they're talking about, hey, what records are hot in your market? Yeah. And the program directors, which were in Florida, were like, this independent record by Mims. This is why I'm hot. It's blowing up. So now it started getting played in DC. It started getting played in all these other like sister markets that were owned by the same radio station. That's how you break records, by the way, on radio. Yeah. I'm giving all the sauce out to your audience. Like, this is how you break records. You got to start small. Yeah. Whatever. If you're an independent artist out there and you're listening to this podcast, or you're an aspiring manager, or you want to be in the music industry, start in whatever market you're in, because those radio stations are owned by big people. And if the records are breaking in your market, it will organically and inevitably move to other markets if the
gain
records
momentum,
gain momentum.
Yeah. Do you feel like you can listen to new artists and be like, yeah, he's got it, or no, he doesn't got it?
I've developed a talent by doing that. Everyone thinks that they can.
Yeah.
I challenge people to really do that.
Yeah.
I signed and discovered Jason Derulo.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest pop artists in the world.
Of course.
I've signed 2 or 3 other artists to major record labels. I've signed multiple producers, sometimes just on one listen.
Yeah.
I can hear a song in 1 second and say, that's a hit, or that's not a hit.
Yeah.
Even today in my old age, I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell people all the time.
I have a similar ability with scripts.
Yeah, that's great. And me can't.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm pretty cocky when it comes to this, but cockiness comes from confidence and from proven results.
Experience, yeah.
You throw me in a closet with a phone, and I'll be more productive than 99% of the motherfuckers in the music industry right now.
Yeah.
I don't care how old they are. The kid, they're all hiring these kids because they're cheaper to hire, whatever. You give me 20 employees, I'll be more productive than 20 employees at every record label. I should be running a record label, and for whatever reason, they've never given me that opportunity.
Yeah, why aren't you running a record label?
I don't know. Maybe I'm too polarizing, or I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Do you feel like it's kind of a monopolized industry?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's controlled by the few.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would imagine. I mean, it's no different than the acting world, in that regard.
There's like 3 people that own the music industry.
Yeah.
If you really want to break it down.
Yeah. So okay, that's all very interesting. And talk to me about so you've had this really fascinating history with all of everything you've done with music, different artists you've worked with and broke. I mean, did you just feel like you got tired of it and you wanted to move into something else, or?
No, I had about $10 million stolen from me from Capitol Fuck You Records.
Okay.
So This Is Why I'm Hot was the biggest record in the world in 2007, internationally, Billboard chart. We sold over 3 million ringtones. Again, I'm dating myself, $3 a piece.
Yep, I remember those days.
$9 million bucks. We sold several million singles, like digital singles. That's a few $1 million, right? So now we're up to $11 million. Our streams and our albums accounted for another, and our licensing accounted for like another $4 or $5 million. So we grossed over $18.5 million with Capitol. And we had a 50-50 deal with them, not a royalty-based deal like most artists have a 15-20% royalty deal. Ours was 50-50, which means after we pay back the expenses, we split the profits with Capitol 50-50. Well, if the album generated $18 million and if Capitol spent $4 million, that would have left about $14 million that we should have chopped up. Our first check was $50,000. So they ripped us off. I mean, they gave us $1 million advance, which we used to record the album, so we didn't put it in our pockets. And I had to sue Capitol Records for 8 years. And
8 year
litigation.
Wow.
And I don't admit this publicly, but why the fuck not? I bought a $650,000 home in Hollywood, Florida in 2006. This is when I was working at...
Which in 2006, that would have been a big house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me. This is when I think I was still at Jive Records.
Yeah.
But I knew that Mims's career was about to blow up, or I felt it was about to blow up. My mom unfortunately passed away. She never was able to see the house that I busted my ass for. Remember, I started off making $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
And not too much longer. I was living in a very expensive house at the time. Even today, it's an expensive house. And what had happened at the time, was we had the biggest housing crash in the history of our lives.
08, yeah.
07, 08.
Yeah.
And in 07, we had the biggest record in the world, but the label stole all the money for me. So I had to short sale my house. So the new owner bought my house for half of what I paid for $350, because I was spending so much money on legal bills. Because remember, I didn't get paid from the label. So any savings that I had, AKA my mortgage payments, I was using to pay the fucking lawyers to sue a label for money that I had generated that I earned. But the man with the gold makes the rules. Yeah. The ones who holds the budgets and inflates budgets and hides things from you, there's not very much that an ordinary person can do.
Interesting. So did you ever see any of that money?
Enough to pay my lawyers. Yeah. Enough so that I didn't lose in what I paid my lawyers.
Yeah.
Not enough to go buy me a new house.
Yeah.
It's very bad. We basically lost. So we settled on a few claims, maybe $100,000 to settle, a couple $100,000 settled, something I don't even remember.
Right.
But the $1 million, the bulk claims, we passed whatever the first court is called, and then they appealed it. The label appealed it, and there were 4 judges that basically read the case and just made a split. They made a decision in like 5 minutes, and like 3. It was like a decision that they gave us a paragraph. Like, no, this isn't going to pass. It was like three sentences that they sent my lawyer.
Yeah.
But it took us 7 years to get to that point, and they missed the case entirely. They didn't read the case. They basically what their response was, well, he signed the deal. That's what fucking 4 lawyers in New York, Southern District of New York said. Well, he signed the deal. He knew what he was signing. Like, no one's denying that we signed the deal. Right, clearly, we signed the deal. What we're saying is these 100 pages of contracts that you're reading over, that they didn't follow what was in the contract and that they stole money from us.
Yeah.
It was like...
It seems like it's a rite of passage in business to get screwed like that.
Yeah, should it be, though?
They should not be, but it seems like it is. I mean, everyone I know that's had a journey of ascent in the business world, in a variety of different industries, it seems like it's a rite of passage to go through something like that.
Perhaps it's worse. I tell every artist this, I don't care who I talk to. Every single artist, from when Prince wrote Slave on his forehead, every single artist in the music industry is fucked. It's just the levels of fuckery that they've been fucked and what they want to do about it. The labels take a strategic approach, which is a little bit different than I think in most businesses, where they know they're going to screw every artist. It's inevitable. It's part of their strategy, because they know if they rip off 100 artists, that 90 artists aren't going to sue. They're not going to have the money. 10 will sue, 7 will win, or 3 will settle, 7 will get thrown out in court, and the 3 that settle for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
So maybe the label pays out 5% of what they really owe. So for them, it makes sense from a business standpoint to benefit their shareholders and their executives and their employees to rip off artists. But they'll shake your hand and say, we're so happy we're in partnership with you. The labels are not in partnership with artists. The artists are the product of the record label. The same way that Apple sells a computer, the computer's the product. The artist is the product. They are not in partnership. I guess one of the things that I was incorrect about, because I had worked from the label side, and I love the people I love my coworkers. To this day, I'm friends with a lot of them. It's not necessarily the coworkers. Even the CEO pretends that they don't know what's going on, even though they all do. It's the lawyers and the accountants that never leave position. Everyone else at the label, they move to different labels, they move around. The lawyers and the accountants that put in these predatory accounting systems and schemes, they never leave. They're there. Yeah. Because they know where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, interesting. And they make sure they don't leave.
Yeah, exactly. You get rid of one of them, they do a Netflix documentary. Now everyone knows the inner workings. It's like the Epstein file. What are on those files that they're trying that both sides are trying to hide.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's really fascinating. And it's a little discouraging if you're like, a musician or a music artist listening to this. It's kind of like, if you want to make it in the industry, you got to pick your poison.
Now I've gotten to a point, like kind of what you said before, that every artist, if they sign a record label deal, they should know that's not where they're going to get paid.
Yeah.
They'll get a little advance or whatever, depending on their leverage, but it's using it as a platform to do other things, to sell other products, to be an investor, to be on an advisory board of a technology company, to get into certain deals on the equity side that you wouldn't have got if you weren't an artist, and to get and access to money and access to capital, where you can really, of course, shows, endorsements, and things of that nature. But every artist should be using their music career, their music, as a stepping stone. Yeah. And all those other rights that people are fighting for, you should get as much leverage independently, so you don't have to give up those rights.
Yeah. No,
and unfortunately, if you don't give up certain rights, then you won't get a record deal. So you got to pick your poison.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can negotiate out some things that are bad is to have leverage. There's an artist named Wish from Baltimore, beautiful artist. No one knows about it. Amazing singer, so talented. I got her signed to Jive Records, which is a label that fired me, by the way. Yeah. Or it got rid of me. For staff reduction, even though they were firing me because I had the biggest record in the world on another label. So Jive Records, which is the best pop label in the history of music, in my opinion, signed Wish. And shortly after, 6 months after they signed Wish, the CEO left. So her career kind of fell at the wayside, unfortunately, because the CEO transitioned out of Jive. But when we were negotiating her deal, they wanted like clothing in her deal. But she's a trained clothing designer. Like, she went to school for fashion design. Yeah. So I had my lawyer, and she had no leverage. But I said to the label, this woman's passion is clothing design before an artist. Like, she went to school for this. You can't take that revenue stream away from her. And I'll credit Jive in saying that they removed that out of her contract. You just got to have smart managers and smart lawyers to be able to negotiate certain things if you're an artist, or have an extreme amount of leverage to the point where it's like, we'll give like a Drake leverage, like we'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So talk to me about like, so you moved down to South Florida, you broke Jason Derulo, T-Pain, you worked with these different artists. How do we get into crypto real estate?
Well, I didn't break.
Or am I jumping?
No, I didn't break. You're not jumping. I didn't break Jason Derulo. I discovered him. Yeah. I broke T-Pain and Chris Brown. I just want to clear that up because Jason's a friend. I was just with him in Dubai. We reconnected after like 15 years of not speaking to each other in Dubai, of all places, which is beautiful. I got after I short sold my property, and
so that's when you transitioned to real estate.
After I short sold my property, and I was like, crying in my room like a little bitch. Like, I can't believe, like, I'm such a smart guy. Like, how the fuck did this happen to me? I had the #1 record in the world. I was driving a 2001 Honda Accord that I got in college, right? I was supposed to be worth millions and millions of dollars, and here I'm having my house taken away. My mom passed away, driving a shitty-ass car, but everyone on the outside is like, this guy's like, all of my friends are like, Erik's a multimillionaire. Like, I would walk into rooms, and they'd be like, El Jefe's here. Yeah. Because I had, like, because we, so I kept a lot of that in. Only my real true friends knew what I was really going through, like financially and emotionally. Plus, all of them were like my roommates that lived with me in the house, my closest friends. I said, listen, I got to get my real estate license because I always felt like I was going to own a lot of real estate one day. And when I was younger, I asked my father, I said, how do you get rich? And he said, well, there's two things. Number one, you invest in yourself. And jokingly, he said, and when that fails, or if that fails, you buy fucking real estate. Yeah. So, what happened when I had to short sell my property, I realized that my real estate agent at the time, I'm not going to name his name. I do remember his name. He was a South Beach real estate agent, but I bought my property in Hollywood. He had no clue about the Hollywood market. I don't even think he had a car. Yeah. But I was living on South Beach at the time. I was working for Jive, and he was a guy that we found to find us a home. But he didn't have a clue about the Hollywood market. And what I know now, because I've been a tenured real estate agent, we have access to data points that the average person doesn't have access to. And we know when markets are starting to shift. And this agent probably knew that the crash was going to happen, or maybe had some sort of inkling on it. I mean, when there's more houses that are coming on the market, like something is awry here, right? Or when houses are being taken off the market, that's usually a good sign too. Or interest rate. There's so many things we can get into. But I didn't know anything. I didn't have my real estate license. I was trusting this professional to guide me. What he should have said was, Erik, just wait like 8 months or a year and come back to me, and you'll have this house 3 times over for half the price. He didn't do that. And me coming from New York and New Jersey, I expect a certain amount of professionalism. I love brutal honesty. Like, tell me like it is. Don't sugarcoat it, because I'll see right through that fucking shit. Yeah. Even if it hurts my feelings, I don't hurt my feelings. I do not care. Yeah. Just don't lie to me, and
that's what's nice about the North. I always felt like I've always struggled with that. I lived in New York for almost 8 years, and when you leave that culture, because everyone just tells you to fuck off right to your face, right? And you're like, thank you, at least I know where you stand. Whereas, like, when you come down to like in the South or in Miami, it's like, it's tricky. Like, people pretend to like be cool with you, and they're not.
Getting into, so a couple things on that, a couple tangents. I was told that I had to calm down my personality when I moved to Florida and watch the cursing.
Like, I'm Jersey.
Watch the cursing and my aggressiveness. I promise you, I didn't fucking calm down at all, and it's been very well received. The people that like me, the people that don't, whatever. Yeah. But I have a tribe of people that are drawn to me, and that I'm drawn to them, and it is what it is. I'm a little bit of a chameleon. I can be different person, different situations, professionally or more, loosely and funny. But I try to give the real Erik 100% of the time and not be fake. Yeah. But there's something that you also said. There's a power in no, and as I get older, I learned being in technology, which we'll probably get into, as well as real estate, and even the music industry. I want to get to know as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. What did you say? Say no, fuck no, hell no. Good, tell me that now. Yeah. Now let me figure out how I'm going to get over that no, or maybe the no is just a no. Maybe it actually really is a definitive no. But don't like when I'm trying to raise $100 million now for a fund I'm doing. Like, raising money is hard. Yeah. It's not easy. Let me know now that you're not interested. Don't drag me around for 6 months and do all these fucking Zooms and waste my time. I'll respect you so much more if you're like, Erik, this fund isn't for me. I'm not interested. Or Erik, this fund isn't for me, but I'll pass you on to someone who I think may be interested. Let me get to the know as fast as possible so that we're not wasting each other's time.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this, but when you're dealing business with me or when I'm dealing business with someone, I say no quickly and I expect a no or hopefully a yes, ideally quickly. Yeah. Anyways, so so I got my real estate license because I felt like I was going to have to use it, and because I wanted access to the MLS, the multiple listing service, and I didn't want to have to rely on calling an agent to do that. Because I felt like at that time when I got screwed and I had to sell my house for half the value and everything was falling apart in my life, I felt like I was the only person that I could rely on to protect my own interest and myself, and that I wasn't going to let anyone else make my financial decisions for me or help me make financial decisions.
Yeah.
I also felt like if I was going to really pursue real estate in the future, which I had no idea where I'd be now, which we'll get into, that if my friends and family needed help in real estate, and I felt like many of them were going to move to Florida, and I knew a lot of celebrities that I felt for various reasons, again, we can get into that I felt at the time, we're talking 20 years ago now, that they were going to move to Florida or Miami in due time also. And I wanted to be their agent because of my network. I have a very strong, powerful network of people, very affluent people, especially now as I got older. And I knew like I would hire me to be my own real estate agent. Like back then, if I had the knowledge I had now, I would hire me.
Yeah.
So the service that I give to my clients is the same service, and customers, they're basically all friends of mine because we're all kind of like-minded in the same circle for the most part. I tell them like you're my sister, you're my brother. Like this is how this is going to go.
Yeah.
And if you don't like my service, or if you don't, please get rid of me or tell me that you don't like it, and I'll respect it. But my referral ratio, I don't do too much marketing. My referral ratio is very strong.
Talk to me. I mean, okay, so let's I feel like we could go for a while, but I want to hear about like what is crypto real estate exactly. And it's like such a Miami thing. When someone says I do crypto real estate, I'm like, oh, that's that's a Miami thing. It feels like the city just has like, I feel like on the outset it sounds like something that's a little shady. But then, like, when I hear you talk about your history and past, I'm like, no, this is probably a real thing. But, like, how does this work?
Oh, it's a real thing, baby. It's a real thing. I became a multimillionaire from this, which we'll get into humbly, because you understand my early beginnings, so I'm not trying to brag at all.
Sure.
Not to say I come from nothing, but I was almost homeless when I had to get rid of my house and when my money that I earned was stolen from me. Remember, Jive Records they essentially got rid of me because they found out about what I was doing with Mims on the side. And at the time, quite frankly, I was going to leave Jive Records. So they actually did me a favor by getting rid of me because they gave me a severance. But at the time, I had no job. Capitol Records stole all of my money. I was driving a 2001 Honda Accord. I was living in a $600,000, $700,000 house that I couldn't afford at the time in the middle of the worst housing crisis. My mom was passing away or had died at the time, and my father was sick also from diabetes. He would later pass away later on too. So it was really fucked. So for me to come from there to here, I'm humbly saying that I'm a multimillionaire because of cryptocurrency, real estate transactions. And this is kind of how that all happened. Most realtors in the country do less than 72% of real estate agents close like no transactions. So 70% in Florida, there's 230,000 licensed agents. In Miami at the time, I think we had maybe 40,000.
Agents here are lazy. When I bought my place, I mean, you could barely get anyone to show you a place.
Do I look lazy? Do I look lazy to you?
No, I feel like you would show up to a listing.
This is why I would show up to the listing. I clean the house. I help clients move out of their homes.
In Miami, like getting anyone to show up to show you the place is like it's hard.
Forget about it. Yeah. I mean, this is what. So I was no different. I've had my license since 2009. From 2009 until 2019, COVID was at 10 years. I did maybe one transaction a year on average, and they were like rentals. It wasn't, the first house I sold was my best friend's house, and I didn't really even know what I was doing, but he trusted me. I'm a pioneer in the music blog. We totally missed that whole thing. I'm a pioneer in the music blockchain space. Doing NFTs and creating social tokens and really being early in the intersection of music and blockchain. We're talking 2015. Very early in Bitcoin. And I'm involved heavily in these blockchain crypto communities around the world. Yeah. And especially in this growing crypto community that we were having in Miami at the time.
Okay, let's back up.
Yeah.
Blockchain, yeah. I sort of know what that is. I have a lot of crypto friends, and they've like explained this to me like 10 times, but it's like it's a little complicated. But like music blockchain? What is that?
Well, blockchain is software.
Yeah.
It's kind of like transparent software. And there were applications I was building at the time that would reward musicians. So I had an application that I won one of the biggest technology awards in the world called TechCrunch Disrupt. I had will.i.am on my advisory board. I raised $1 billion from Lightspeed Venture Partners. I'm one of like the OGs in the Miami tech system, not crypto system, before like everyone migrated here.
Yeah.
I was like pushing like the Miami tech ethos. And at the time I won, like I said, TechCrunch, which was the biggest startup competition in America. And no other company ever has won that out of Miami. And I kind of shined a spotlight on Miami's tech scene by winning that.
Yeah.
And I don't get the credit I deserve, but the OGs in the Miami tech system know what I did. I just don't get the credit, which is fine because I don't care about credit. All I care about is money. And if no one's paying me, then I could care less about the credit.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I built an application. Well, my team, my business partners, I built an application that was basically like a TikTok competitor. And at the time, we felt like we could reward musicians for coming on our platform and creating content with our own token. And if fans were to discover this content that, let's say, you and I created together. So
this is about circumventing the label.
Well, it was about social tokens, really. Yeah, a little bit of circumvent.
I would imagine you're carrying a little bit of beef with the label.
I still am. I don't I know this is at my age. I shouldn't admit this, but I carry grudges with me.
Yeah.
But I use it as fuel.
Yeah,
I get it.
No,
to excel.
I get it.
I use it as that battery, right?
Yeah.
That motivation.
So if I'm reading this script about your life, I'm like, oh, this guy's super objective is to take out the record labels.
No. I know it's going to sound creepy. Like, what? No, not really. It's to use them.
Yeah.
It's to know that you're not going to get paid from them, but if you use the system correctly, you can benefit from it.
Yeah.
They have a system. They're very good at what they do.
Robber barons.
Yeah, they're very good at what they do, which is robbing artists.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of relationships that are decades. Right, I mean, they're an industry, powerful industry.
Yeah.
Music is an uncorrelated asset and an uncorrelated industry. In times of depression, times of war, times of prosperity, you're still listening to music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never going to go away. It would be an awful society if we stopped listening to music.
Totally agree.
And if new musicians didn't come out.
Yeah.
So I digress. Where the hell am I? So again, like I said, most agents close less than like one transaction in the country. And I was no different, and I wasn't taking it seriously. I was managing MIMS. I was discovering Jason Derulo. I still had my hand in the music industry. I was doing blockchain stuff. I was doing technology stuff. I was not focused on real estate.
Yeah.
Sure enough, COVID happened. It changed our world, in my opinion, still to this day. It's changed our world. And no real estate agent anywhere in a country was able to show property. Industries were kind of at a standstill. But when we came out of COVID, I recognized that a lot of people in technology, because of the progressive nature of our business climate here and political climate and other reasons, that people were drawn to Miami, were being drawn to Miami in 2019, 2020, in the same way that I was drawn to Miami in 2004 and 2005. Mm-hmm. They finally saw what I saw 15 years ago. Yeah. Family, friends, artists, musicians.
I think more people are still continuing to see it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
But I realized that there was a certain group of people, my tech nerds, my crypto blockchain people that were moving here from San Francisco and New York and these high tax climates, very tech focused cities. And they were moving here. And I was at a blockchain event one night, like a networking event at a very rich guy's house in Brickell. It was a house, not a condo. And it was a bunch of crypto nerds and degenerates. Some I knew, some I didn't. And this one guy who I didn't know, this gentleman who I didn't know, was like, hey, I heard from a mutual friend, and I didn't know this guy. We just met at the party that night. Yeah. He goes, I heard that you do real estate. I said, yeah. I said, I don't tell too much because I didn't tell too many people because there's I really want to stress this during this podcast. I love your opinion on it also. People tell you, don't do too many things. Just focus on one thing.
Right.
I don't believe in that. I mean, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that human beings are put on this earth to just do one thing. And I don't think that human beings should just do one thing well. I think that human beings, if they're programmed correctly, if they're entrepreneurial based, and if they have systems in place, that they can do a lot of things really, really well. Yeah. If they're passionate about it.
It's interesting. I understand both sides of that argument. You know, I mean, I would say someone like Elon Musk, very good at doing lots of different things. But to your point, he has lots of systems that have just he's able to kind of hire this team, they handle Tesla, and he does this team, they do SpaceX, and so he's got he's very good at setting up teams to handle different things. But at the same time too, I understand that I saw this in the acting world where there's just some people that's literally all they can do. And I think that when they have their back against the wall, that this is all I can do, it's either this or wait tables, they make it work somehow. Oh, right?
You're saying this is all that they can do because this is all that they're good at.
Yeah, they're literally like an idiot savant, in this one space.
But what if they're good at several things, and someone's telling them you should only do acting, don't pursue tech, don't pursue being an accountant.
Well, and that's the thing. And then this is kind of always been something I feel like I've struggled with in my life, is that I've had I've had my hand in entrepreneurial activities. I've had my hand in art. I've had my hand in the studio writing world. And it's okay, well, which one do I do?
There was a conference many years ago, and several executives were on the panel, and artists, these were independent, hungry artists, man, broke, starving artists, rappers. And one of them raised their hand and said, can I get a job? Should I get a job if I want to pursue a career in the music industry? And all these executives on the panel were like, you can only be a rapper. Just focus on that. No one's going to take you seriously if you have a side job. And I looked at all these people. And I looked at the artists in the crowd. I said, that's the worst fucking advice that I've ever heard a professional give another musician. I said, because the first thing these guys are going to do, and I called them all out, I said, the first thing these guys are going to do is they're going to ask you, do you have a budget to market and promote yourself?
Right.
And unless you're selling drugs, which you should not be doing, unless you're doing something illegal to make that money, how are you going to fucking fund your career?
Yeah.
Who's going to help fund your dream? You have to fund your dream. You have to go out there. You have to hustle. You have to work, whether it's waiting tables, going into the studio at night. You have to be on social media during the day. You have to build a team of people around you that believe in you as a music, that can help you extend. I said, if you can't prove to these guys on stage that you could do that independently, you're never going to get a deal with them. So don't fucking listen to them. Go get a goddamn job. And the odds that you get sorry to break this to you, the odds that you get a record label deal is 0.00001%, and then the odds that you're successful from that record deal is another 0.001%. Right. People don't realize this. Out of 100 artists that get signed to a record label, you don't hear about 90% of them.
Well, it's the same thing in acting. It's everyone thinks that if I could just get an agent, my life will be fixed, And then you get an agent finally, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm auditioning for these shows, but, they're fussy about this or that. And, booking those shows is very, very difficult. And, it's just the nature of the beast.
How many sitcom actors and artists that are just pigeonholed into that one role and they haven't gotten any other roles since then? And it's they were great back in our childhood watching XYZ show on TV, but they've never gotten a role since then. It's a brutal industry.
That's, what's his name?
Brutal.
The Karate Kid guy, I forget his name, but he dealt with that his whole career. he basically they haven't allowed him to do anything outside of Karate Kid.
Carlton from The Fresh Prince. Everyone wants to see him do his dance, and they don't take him seriously as an actor. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so get off the subject. So my point is that I didn't tell anyone I was a real estate agent. And you don't get real estate business if no one knows you're a real estate agent.
That makes sense.
But I didn't tell people because I was scared, because I was pursuing this music thing. I had this technology endeavors. I had my hands in crypto, and I didn't want people to see me doing a bunch of different things and be like, "Oh, Erik's all over the place. He doesn't have a focus."
Yeah.
No, I was very focused. I was making money here. I was making money here. I was making money here. I have multiple businesses. I have employees. I have operations set up. I can do. No, I'm not Elon Musk yet.
Yeah.
But I can do several. I'm a human being, and these are my passions, and I'm capable of doing it. If I wasn't capable of doing it, I wouldn't. There's an interview I watched, I think it was Bill Gates, and someone said, and this is when Bill was 19 years old, and it stuck in my mind, and they said, "Bill, why did you decide to create Microsoft?" And his answer was, "I saw a problem, and I felt like I was the right guy to handle that I was capable of coming up with a solution." It's literally that simple.
Yeah.
Are you the person that can fix the problem? Do you feel like you have the abilities to fix the problem? Don't tell anyone that you can't fix that problem. Don't tell anyone that you just need to focus. If you can fix 3 problems, go fix 3 problems. If you can do them good, go fix it. Don't let anyone stop you. So, but I let people stop me, or in my own mind, I was mind fucking myself, and I wasn't telling people I was a real estate agent because I was focused on other things, and I knew that I wasn't completely focused or that skilled as a real estate agent. There were real estate agents out there that were making a ton of money. Fast forward. At this blockchain conference, or network, not even blockchain, just friendly networking event, A guy pulls me aside. He goes, "Are you a real estate agent?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Let me talk to you." He goes, like basically pulled me into a closet. It was like a private room. I was like, "What the hell's?" He was like, "Erik, I'm worth $40 million in Bitcoin, but I have no money in my bank account. I cannot get a loan. No one wants to give me any funding, but I want to buy a property. Can you help me?" Of course, I was a little tipsy. I put down my cerveza. I looked at him and I said, completely fucking lied to him. I said, "Absolutely, I can help you." I had no idea how I was going to help this guy, but I knew because of my background in tech, because of my background in crypto, because I actually had my real estate license and learned a few things along the way, that there would be that it was going to be my job, my responsibility to figure out this guy's solution, because there was going to be probably a lot of other people that were going to come to me if I can help him out.
Even to this day, I mean, like I had assets in Bitcoin when I bought this place, and they would not take it seriously.
They do now, and I'm partially the reason why. So I lied to him, and sure enough, 2 weeks later, another very rich guy. "Hey, Erik, I'm worth $60 million in Bitcoin.
How do you get mortgage underwriters to take this seriously?
Few hundred thousand in my bank. I can't get." So he goes, "I heard you're working with such and such. Can you help me out?" And I lied. I said, "Of course." Now I had two clients that were probably worth anywhere from 50 to 100 million in Bitcoin. Very little in the bank. No bank wanted to fund them. And I was calling banks up. This is like tail end of COVID. I was calling banks up, and they were all like, "No." They're like, we no hablo Bitcoin. Like, we don't understand it. They can sell it tomorrow. Yeah. The banks, by the way, I'm a licensed MLO now, mortgage loan originator. I just got that license not that long ago. The banks would rather lend to someone who has a $100,000 W-2 job a year than someone that's worth $10 million in Bitcoin.
Oh, you gotta have that W-2 job.
But that W-2 can lose the job tomorrow.
I know.
What are the odds of that Bitcoin that's worth $10 million goes to zero tomorrow?
Exactly. That's what's so crazy about it.
And this was the conversation I was having with banks. And I spoke to one bank, and I said, they're like, "Erik, we can't do anything." I said, "Listen, I have 100 guys that are worth $100 million in assets. They're actually worth more than that now." I said, "So you're going to let these two guys leave the bank, and you're not going to fund these guys? They're not trying to buy $50 million properties. They want like $1 million property, $2 million property. They're not over leveraging that. If Bitcoin drops 90% tomorrow, they can pay off the house and the mortgage in cash." And one bank was like, "You know what? Let's figure something out." And basically I structured it. It's called a no-doc, non-QM loan with a direct lender, and clients would put down 30% of a down payment, and the banks would fund at a higher interest rate than normal, would fund the remaining purchase. That bank no longer offers this product
to offset their risk.
But now I'm not dealing with banks. I'm dealing more so with crypto lenders. So there's about 5 or 6 crypto lending platforms that are outside of the FDIC banking system that lend against crypto at a 30, 50, or 70% loan to value. So if you need $1 million loan, you have to have $2 million of Bitcoin. You give the crypto lender $2 million of Bitcoin, and they'll give you $1 million loan tomorrow. They take no lien on your property. They don't run a credit check because their collateral, they just do a background check to make sure you're not a nefarious actor or a criminal or you're on the sanction list. Yeah. It's called KYC, AML, Know Your Customer, Anti-Money Laundering.
Yeah.
And they'll lend you 50% loan to value tomorrow. You'll have that $1 million in your bank account that you can use to buy the property. And the beautiful thing is that when you borrow against your digital assets, or when you borrow against anything, you pay no capital gains. So in real estate, we borrow against Donald Trump. Borrows against his property to buy another property. He pays no capital gains. He's borrowing against his assets. It's the same thing in crypto. If I borrow against Bitcoin or Ethereum, I pay no capital gains. Only when I sell do I pay capital gains. As long as I'm borrowing against the things that I own, I don't pay a capital gain. And when they pay that loan back at usually a 10% interest rate, they get the Bitcoin back. So if someone gives a platform, let's say 20 Bitcoin today, it's worth $2 million. They get the 20 Bitcoin back when they pay the loan back. So if that Bitcoin's gone up to $5 million, they get that $5 million worth of Bitcoin because they're getting the Bitcoin back, not the dollar value back. If Bitcoin's gone down to $2, well, they're getting $2 worth of Bitcoin back.
Interesting.
So it's a way for them to leverage their one asset, their most prized possession or prized asset, which is digital property, Bitcoin, to borrow another hopefully appreciating asset, which is property. So they leverage one asset to buy another asset.
Is this crypto real estate, is this basically originating in Miami? Is this starting in Miami?
So I created the first good transition. I created the first cryptocurrency real estate division in the country for Avanti Way. Avanti Way is one of the largest brokers in Florida.
Interesting.
We have over 2,000 agents. We're the third largest privately owned company in Florida. And I created the first crypto-focused division for a real estate company.
So this is not going away.
Oh, no, it's only going to grow.
Yeah. And so theoretically, we could start seeing a lot of big crypto whales starting to buy houses down here.
They already are.
Yeah.
Guess who their agent is?
Exactly. Yeah.
I wrote a course because I want to give back to the real estate community. I want to teach other agents around the country. I want to build my network up. I teach other agents about my strategies and my solutions. Cryptocurrencyrealtors.com is where people can find the course. So I created a course crazy story. I was having one of my little networking powwows at my boy Dion's crib at the Porsche Tower, which is one of the nicest condos.
Of course.
If not
I think Messi's in there.
I don't think people are supposed to know that.
Sorry.
No, I didn't think that's.
I divulge all my secrets at the end of the podcast.
Messi owns a lot of property. I represent some very big celebrities, but I don't really tell people who they. Not that Messi's one of them. By the way, it'd be fantastic, Messi. You want to? Me no habla español, but we can figure something out.
I'll translate.
Thanks, appreciate that. I got to learn. I can't believe I've been here for so long. I don't know Spanish. I got to we were having dinner in the Porsche Tower because apparently there's a restaurant at the Porsche Tower for the residents.
Sense. You could probably drive out right there too.
And right. And it was it was a networking session, and I was sitting next to a gentleman. I had no idea who he was, and everyone was going around the table saying what they do. And I was like, I'm the biggest crypto real estate agent in America. And the guy next to me was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. You should tell the mayor about that, and he'd love to talk to you and ask you about how you can tell other agents how to do what you do. And I looked at this guy and I was like, why the fuck would I do that? Well, not the mayor, but why would I tell other agents, give them my sauce so that they can come and take my business? And I was like, I basically looked at him like, who the fuck are you to tell me that?
Yeah.
And I didn't say that. I didn't say it like that. And he looked at me and was like, I'm Francis Suarez's lawyer.
Oh, okay.
So he was the attorney, the mayor's attorney.
Yeah.
Nice guy. And we joked about it. I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I was like, I didn't mean to come off like an asshole. And he was like, well, why don't you just create a course? You can make a little bit of money, but you're also helping other agents learn how to do it. And I was like, that's a good idea. So I've never given him. So the mayor's attorney is the one that told me to create a course.
Interesting.
So I created a course. I created a book. I have an Audible book. It's approved by Florida for 4 hours of continuing education credit because I really want to teach other agents how to execute these transactions. And maybe they join Avanti Way and they join my little division, my crypto division. But that's not my reason for doing the course. My reason for doing the course is that every time I speak on stages across the country and across the world, I have 20 agents that come up to me and they're like, Erik, can you teach me what you do? And I don't have hours of my time to dedicate to coach people on a one-on-one basis. I'm a practicing real estate agent. I got my hands in music and crypto, and I own other music publishing company. I own a bunch of different ventures, and I advise for a venture capital company that invests in AI, blockchain, smart cities. So I advise for Pointer Capital, which is a very good venture capitalist. We've made over 120 investments. I'm a very busy guy. I'm a father, which is my number one priority. I'm a friend, brother, uncle. I have a lot of responsibilities. I don't have time to teach every agent in Florida who basically everyone laughed at me. Yeah. I love that. I love being laughed at and told no. Like I said, I want to get to know fast. I'll figure out how to overcome the no. Maybe the no was no. But if I have conviction about something and my belief that crypto real estate in 2020 and 2021 was going to be a big thing in 25 and in 2026, you're not going to convince me otherwise. I've done enough research to know where the market is going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly down here, this is a huge thing already. Erik, we could go for a while about this, but I usually try to tap off my episodes around an hour. Thank you so much.
I brought a present for you. It's my book.
Awesome.
I got a book for you.
Awesome.
Everything you need to know about executing cryptocurrency real estate transactions. Quickly learn strategies that I use to execute.
Nice.
Over 20 million. This is my gift to you.
Nice. Appreciate it.
Anyone who watches the podcast, go get it on Amazon. It's $20. Come on, $30 for the hardcover, and I think you get the Audible version for free if you sign up for Audible.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but I created a book, and
appreciate
all my knowledge wrapped up into 1 hour of paper.
Thank you. Well, this was a super fascinating interview. Like you've lived a lot of different lives.
Still living, baby. Still living.
Yeah. And I think like the culmination of everything that you've done is a great. I think Miami is a great place for you based on all of that experience, because we kind of take, I think, a lot of just characters who are thinking outside the box.
I think I'm one of those characters.
Yeah.
I think I fit outside that box.
Definitely. Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate you having me.
And we'll catch you next time.
Let's do it.
See ya.
Cool.